What's up, everybody? Brett Okamoto from ESPN, joined today, of course, as always, by James Krause, veteran UFC fighter, veteran coach, and Nick Kalikas, who is over there working at Circus Sports here in Las Vegas. Nick is going to be breaking things down from the gambling aspect. James also from the gambling aspect, but he's our X's and O's guys as well. We're talking about UFC Fight Night this weekend at the Apex in Las Vegas. Heavyweight main event, Curtis Blaydes versus Derrick Lewis. I got to be honest, when this fight was made, the initial reaction, I think, by probably a lot of people is that this is a terrible matchup for Derrick Lewis, but you guys are going to tell me if that initial reaction is accurate or if there may be some value on our guy, Derrick Lewis. So right now, Curtis Blaydes is a minus 380, and that number is trending up. He opened at minus 270. He's now at 380 or potentially even higher. I mean, it seems like it's going higher just about every hour on Curtis Blaydes. And then Derrick Lewis coming back at plus 300. So you wager 100, you win 300. He opened up at plus 235. So the money is coming in on Curtis Blaydes, as it always does. I mean, this guy actually seems to the handle seems to gravitate to Curtis Blaydes, regardless of who he's fighting. James, I'll start with you. What do you think of this main event matchup?
Well, everything you said, in my opinion, is right, and I have Blaydes winning this fight, and the word that comes to mind is consistency. He's consistent with how he fights. You know, he comes out, he says, "Hey, I'm going to take you down." And he does it typically. You know what I mean? Like he's pretty consistent. He's got good striking. He's got good takedown setups. He's got a great folk style wrestling. And stylistically, Derrick Lewis hasn't had a lot of answers for those type of guys in the past. One of my best bets involves the main event. So I don't know. I don't know about the value perspective. I'm interested to hear Nick's outtake on that. But I really like Curtis Blaydes in this fight.
Nick, like I mentioned, I mean, as I was going back through Curtis Blaydes' career, I believe that every single time he's fought in the UFC, the line has trended towards him. So what's going on with these opening odds on Curtis Blaydes? And what can you tell us about what that means if you're trying to bet the guy or against him?
No, you're absolutely right. I mean, I think everybody realizes that he's one of the best wrestlers in the heavyweight division, like, period. I mean, historically, this guy is such a good grinder. I mean, he gets it done. Like James said, I mean, he even comes out and tells you, look, I'm not going to strike with this guy. Why should I? I have a path to victory. I'm going to take this path to victory. So just his attitude and the way he goes about things, I think it's very tough for most of these heavyweights to deal with that kind of pressure and then the takedown defense. So I think people just get on board because we know wrestlers have a lot of success in the octagon. You know, they develop their overall skill set, and Blaydes is developing that. So he's getting a little bit more confident on the feet as well. He's just becoming a more well-rounded mixed martial artist, and he legitimately deserves to be in the number one contender conversation. So, I mean, it's tough, but we always open him a little bit short, and the public kind of sets us straight when this happens, right? Because they know how good this guy is.
James, from a stylistic standpoint, it's interesting, man, because it's like we know both of these guys so well. Like Derrick Lewis has been around for a long time, and he's told us a million times, like, I'm going to get in shape, I'm going to work on my wrestling, and he comes out and looks like the exact same Derrick Lewis every time. But that's okay because he's won some of those fights. He's won those fights where he's kind of outlasted them. You know, one of these things that people say about Derrick Lewis, which I think is kind of funny, but it's also very true, is that like when he's working to get up, when he's been taken down, there's not really a whole lot of technique in it. He's just so strong. He just like stands.
Exactly.
Decides
he's an athlete.
So what do you think about what you've seen specifically out of Curtis's top control, his takedowns, and also the fact that this is in a smaller cage? I mean, what are you expecting out of Derrick Lewis? And like, if there is somebody that can hold this guy down, is it Curtis Blaydes?
Man, I always look at like X factors, kind of like what you're talking about, like small cage. How are these guys getting up? And I just watched Derrick Lewis's fight with Olenek earlier today, and Olenek got him down, and we're talking about a different level of wrestling. And historically, if you look in the past, there's been guys that have way better jiu-jitsu and way better get back up than Derrick Lewis, and Blaydes is holding those guys down too. And I'm trying to think of a fight where Blaydes has lost that he hasn't gotten clipped early. We're talking about a big power puncher that's just knocked him out early. So in my opinion, whenever I'm looking at, especially whenever I'm looking at, placing money on a fight, if the only way somebody can win is by knockout, like you have to clip somebody or you have to knock them out, I just don't like betting on those guys typically. There's one exception with Francis, that's another conversation. But I don't see Derrick Lewis stopping these takedowns, and I don't see him getting back up. I mean, Olenek got him down with a pretty basic run the pipe single. Blaydes' wrestling is far superior than Olenek's. He's a far better athlete. And I think the difference is we talked about styles with the clinch wrestling with Volkov a couple weeks ago. And I think the difference here is a lot of these guys where Derrick is getting up is off submission attempts. Blaydes not going to do that. He's just going to beat you up. He's going to hit you. He's going to beat you up. He's going to put you flat back again, beat you up some more, put you flat back again, beat you up some more. He's not looking for chokes where these big scrambles where Derrick can be an athlete. There's going to be no room for athleticism. And not to mention Blaydes is just as athletic, just as strong, just as powerful. I just see Blaydes getting it done, man.
So Nick, if you're looking to bet on Curtis Blaydes, in this fight and then in others, I mean, has he reached a point where he's becoming such a favorite and the money's coming on him so consistently that you start to look at method of victory? I mean, Blaydes at KO is minus 135. He's got 5 rounds to potentially finish Derrick Lewis if we do think that he's going to just take him down and accumulate that ground and pound. Sub plus 800, not known as a submission guy, but hey, I mean, when Derrick gets tired, I mean, we've seen guys throw that rear naked choke on him. And then Blaydes by decision is plus 335. Do any of those interest you? Or do you start to think about method when you got a guy who is consistently this big of a favorite?
Yeah, you have to. I mean, like we said, it's just too high of a price right now to bet it straight. So you have to look at method of victory. And I think this fight probably doesn't go all the way. I mean, it won't go 5 rounds. It's going to be too grueling. I think if Lewis has a shot, he needs to take this into deep waters or clip him early, right? He needs to make Blaydes kind of wear down and just a grueling fight, continuously get back up and just make it tough, right? I don't know if he's going to be able to do that. I think Blaydes is going to get positioned. So that's a way to bet him, I think. You have to, because again, in the heavyweight fights, most heavyweight fights don't make the scorecards, especially 5-round fights. So I think there is a path to victory. Like James said, he gets positioned on the ground. He's going to start unloading. And eventually, I think it's going to wear on Lewis when he's on the ground, and he's just going to probably fold up shop and, give in. A lot of people just can't take that punishment that Blaydes offers from top position.
James, let me ask you this about Curtis Blaydes. Dana White criticized his last performance. He went out there and he dominated Alexander Volkov, but he didn't get a finish, and Dana White was not happy about it. And Curtis Blaydes strikes me as the type of person to not care. He has made it pretty clear that, I'm not changing my fighting style. I'm not doing this. I'm not doing that. However, even though I don't think he necessarily cares that Dana White criticized his last performance, knowing what he knows and the heavyweight division has, not been super active at the top, and that he's 9-2 in the UFC and he's still not a number 1 contender, knowing that he's got 5 rounds to potentially finish Derrick Lewis and coming off of that performance in which Dana White criticized him, does that make the knockout a little bit more enticing to you on Curtis Blaydes? Just because maybe he's thinking and he's in the gym thinking, I got to finish these fights when I'm on top position?
When I look at the stylistic matchup of this, I think if Blaydes fights his normal fight, I think he's going to finish. Just 25 minutes of ground and pound is a lot on somebody. Nick just took the words. You couldn't said it better. I just think it'll add up over time, And I will give Derrick Lewis credit. He's an extremely durable fighter, and I think he's going to hang around for a minute. But Blaydes isn't going to play the game of where Volkov did it. I'm going to stand with him, and he's going to shoot. He's going to shoot fast. He's going to get him down. We call it cooking him. He's going to cook him up. Well done. He's going to be tired. He's going to be beat up. And I just think I do see Blaydes later on, in the fight after a couple rounds of ground and pound. I do see him finding a finish somehow. And I don't think it'll be a thing where Lewis folds up shop. He's not a quitter. He's not going to quit. But I could see the referee stepping in. Is just taking too much damage. Or I could see Blaydes, when you guys mentioned the Blaydes by decision Blaydes by submission at plus 800, that's worth throwing a little bit on. You know what I mean? DC is not a submission guy. DC subbed him in the second round, I might add. Mm-hmm. It's worth a little bit of money there, in my opinion. I don't think that's how he's going to win, but it's worth throwing something at it, I think. Blaydes is, because he doesn't care, he's going to, and I think it's almost like a chip on his shoulder. He's like, I'm going to take you down, and I don't care what you say. Oh, you said I'm boring? Well, guess what? I'm going to keep doing it now, and you're not going to do anything about it. And I'm just going to keep beating people. He did an interview today. He said, if I got to beat every single person in line, that's what I have to do. I have a family to feed. I'm going to keep doing it. The best way for me to do it, wrestle. He's going to do it again Saturday night, I think.
Let me ask you guys one final question on this main event matchup, and we'll just go quick here. Nick, you'll start, and then James, you can follow. What's keeping you off of Curtis Blaydes then? I mean, if the way we're talking here, it's almost sounds like Derrick Lewis doesn't have a chance. What is keeping you from putting money on Curtis Blaydes?
That knockout power. I mean, the knockout power Lewis possesses. We saw it against Volkov. I mean, it's scary, right? Even late in the fight, like you said, I think he's going to fold up shop because it's going to be a different kind of punishment on the ground he's going to take. So I don't think necessarily he is a quitter, you're right. But I still think that he shows a little bit of life. And even in the 3rd round, 4th round, he might be able to just land one of those big bombs, or obviously early on in the fight, if Blaydes doesn't get the takedown right away, Lewis is dangerous. I mean, he's going to throw wild. He knows that's his only shot to win this fight. He's not a dummy. He's going to go out there swinging leather. So the power that Lewis has, I mean, he's done it time and time again. I believe he has the most knockouts in heavyweight history, right? The most stoppages.
He does.
I mean, that's how dangerous he is. So you don't want to lay minus 400 against somebody like that, despite the narrative probably being right with Blaydes taking him down.
Answer for me is very simple. I'm on him. I've already bet him.
Oh, yeah.
I did. Yeah, I didn't bet him at 400 plus, but I got him at 250, 280, somewhere in there. And I think the value is there all day. I mean, I would do that 10 times over. I think that he's a tough stylistic matchup. But as Nick said, that power, he's got the eraser. He's got the Derrick Lewis has the ability to end a fight at any time. At minus 250, 260, 270, 280, somewhere in there, to me, it's worth the risk. At 400 plus, not so much. Then you got to go into, parlaying him in or by method of victory or whatever. But yeah, I mean, the power is why, but I'm on it. I put money on him already.
Well, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. If you ever have wondered about the legitimacy of James Krause betting, I mean, he's on the odds right when they come out. I mean, he's probably got the alerts on his phone when those things become available. There you go. What else are you on, James? Let's get to our best bets section. We'll start with you. What are your best bets for this weekend's card?
Man, first of all, I gotta give Nick and his crew some props here, man. The bookies are on it. They're on this card, or I'm sorry, not the bookies, but the odds makers are on it. This card is really tough. It reminds me of the card a couple weeks ago. There's just not a lot popping out to me, but two came out to me initially, and the first one is going to be Lewis Blaydes over 1.5 rounds. I just with Blaydes' style, it's a very ground and pound style. He doesn't look for a lot of submissions. It's I'm going to shoot, take you down, wear you out, and I think I see that fight going over 1.5 rounds. I feel like that's going to go over there. I think I got it at minus 180 or minus 175. I like that a lot. Blaydes is a very durable fighter. I see him hanging around. He can take a beating. You know, he can get hit and he can still keep coming. So I like that one a lot. And then my second one is I was just looking through and this one popped at me as well. This is pretty much even money, but Julian Erosa, Nate Landwehr over 2.5 rounds. Both these guys aren't really known for their power. Both of them extremely durable fighters. And this is even money with the juice on it. So I think it's at 115, right? Minus 115 right now. To featherweights, the majority of featherweight fights are 55% of featherweight fights are going the distance anyway. And then you mix in two guys that aren't really known to finish to begin with. I like those odds any day. I mean, at 55%, that's even money right there. So you gotta take that, and then you throw in two guys that aren't big finishers to begin with.
Okay, Nick, how about you? What are your best bets?
I do like this card from a betting perspective, actually, because I think there's a lot of competitive fights. I mean, there's 15 fights on this card and spread out. I think there's options, especially with some of the lesser known fighters. So for me, Imavov, I can't pronounce his name perfectly, so excuse me, Imavov, but I think him over Haas is value at even money, minus 105. As a dog, I think he should be a favorite in this fight. So there's definitely value there. I think he's the better striker. I think he can hang in the wrestling department. I know Haas is explosive, and that's the danger, and that's why this fight is that close, because you have to kind of withstand that initial onslaught, I think, from Haas. But as the fight progresses, Imavov has way more ways to finish the fight, and I think he gets it done. Also, Chavez, I think, over Gordon has some value as well. Chavez is a pretty slick striker. He continues to improve his takedown defense and ground game. I think he's going to be able to pick Gordon apart on the feet. A slight chalk here, but minus 140, minus 145, I think Chavez is the play to make. Castaneda is another play over Wineland. Wineland, obviously a savvy vet. I think that he's definitely still has a little bit of life left, but he's going to be a little bit slower. He's going to be a little bit more hittable. He's not as durable. Castaneda is one of these guys that's trying to belong in the UFC. You know, he had a tough fight in his debut against Nathaniel Wood, but I think he bounces back here. This is an easier matchup for him. It's not going to be totally a walk in the park, though. Wineland's going to definitely fight back and give him some problems, but I still think Castaneda probably finishes Wineland or at least wins a decision, so there's value there. And then a fun little parlay. I like Rosa and Spivak parlay together. I think both of these guys get it done as well. And if you parlay minus 180, minus 245, it's just around plus 140. So in their matchups, I think stylistically, they win those fights as well. So just a fun little parlay, nothing crazy on that one, but I think it's worth a play there as well.
There you go. Not as big of a card as the pay-per-view last weekend, obviously, but plenty of plays for you guys to get to the window if you choose to do so. Hope you got a little bit smarter. Hope you win some money this weekend, and we'll be back again because the UFC ain't taking a break, so neither are we. So we'll see you again next weekend. Take care.
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.